Modifying your car is a lot like having premarital sex. One of the topics that I get emailed about each day is how to prepare yourself for your first exotic car purchase. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time with some tips and ideas of how you can make that happen more quickly. And we're going to start with the assumption that you'd like to finance the car. Obviously, we've talked a lot about exotic car financing. While I know that's a little bit controversial, if the goal is to buy an exotic car more quickly, that's the first thing that will help, because you'll do it 5 to 10 times as fast leveraging your cash through financing. But the first step is really to build your credit. It's important that you not only keep good credit and pay the things that you owe, but that you get the chance to owe people things. So don't use a debit card to buy anything. Get 2 credit cards. Get one from American Express and one from Visa, MasterCard, or Discover. And never ever let a balance carry forward on those cards. Pay them off in full each month. This will build your credit and make it much more substantial as different parties have allowed you to borrow money. Another interesting thing that very few people know is that your credit score is based on the percentage of available credit you are using. So a lot of cards don't come with preset limits, particularly from American Express. So if you spend $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 each month, at the end of the month when you have that full balance, you'll be using 90 to 100% of whatever available credit you have. So in order to deal with that, when you have an upcoming large purchase that you know about, try to use that card for it. So if you spend $5,000 each month, call Amex and see if they'll approve a $15,000 expenditure if you have it coming up, and that will become your new limit. If your card does have a limit, call every 6 months and ask them to increase it. This will improve your credit score. The second thing you need to do is actually get a car loan. Even if you're not ready to buy your dream car, you need to start the process of building up car credit. So when you buy a car, even if you weren't planning to finance it, get a loan. And get a loan from a bank that you can build a relationship with. If you want to buy a $300,000 McLaren, don't go starting to get loans with a bank that you know only loans money up to $100 grand. It's always going to be easier to get a bank that has a relationship with you to extend you more credit in the future. Also, if you're buying a car that's cheaper that you were planning to pay cash for, finance as much of it as you can, and then for your first payment, pay off almost all of it. That way you're going to show that a bank trusted you with a lot of money and that you paid down that balance quickly. Don't pay it all the way off because you want to keep any lines of credit open for 6 to 12 months at least. Banks know that they can't really make money until you hold their accounts open for a good little while, so they don't want to see you moving in and out of loan products too often. Another kind of counterintuitive thing when it comes to financing cheaper cars to prepare yourself for larger car loans in the future is that you want the highest payment you can possibly get. Just because the bank has 60, 72, or 84-month terms doesn't mean that's going to help get you to where you want to go faster. Now, don't overextend yourself, but if you can afford the payment over 36 months, get that higher payment, because when a bank sees that you have made a higher payment and you request a longer term on an exotic car loan, they're a lot more likely to say yes. The third and arguably the most important thing is to avoid cars that depreciate in the short term. Before you buy that dream car, every dollar you lose on the cars you drive before then is putting you further away from that goal. So the more value you can retain in those cars as you trade up, sell them, flip up, whatever you're doing, the better off you're going to be. Depreciation is the killer of your ability to trade and move up into a future car. I expect the next one to be a little bit offensive, but do not modify your car. Unless you have a car you plan to keep forever and you're using money that you never ever need to see again, don't spend money modifying cars. Unless it's an extremely reputable company, you're going to get $0 to -$dollars back on the mods that you have. And if it's extremely reputable, like AMS or Underground Racing or Rentec, you might get 10 to 15% of the money you invest in modifying your car back. No one else wants exactly the car you want, and I understand that's why people enjoy personalizing their cars. And once you have this dream car, go to town, do whatever you want. But in the meantime, modifying your car is a lot like having premarital sex. And I don't expect this to talk you out of either of those things, and it doesn't make those eventual goals impossible. It just means there's going to be a little bit more work cut out for you. Some of your future options might become more limited, and it will inevitably take a little bit more explanation or shrewd negotiation to get you to the goal that you had in mind. So if you make better short-term decisions, your long-term goals simply become easier to attain. The next thing you can do is start to build a relationship with the dealership that you'd like to do business with in the future. And respect is critical here because you don't want to waste their time until you're going to use it to make a purchase. They're probably paid entirely on commission, and even though they'll appreciate your enthusiasm and they want to build those relationships to know where future deals might come from, it's important that as you spend time with them and go to their events, that you're very clear of what your intentions are and what you're doing to move yourself in the direction of being able to consummate that type of purchase. The next step is something that unfortunately very few people end up doing. Start saving money. As logical as it is, very few people accumulate much invested wealth, but it is the key to being able to buy expensive and luxury things. So start saving money. Compound interest is what makes the world go round. Use traditional investment tools. This doesn't mean buy Bitcoin. I knew several years ago that there was a good chance that Bitcoin was going to go up. But as a startup entrepreneur, my time is my high-risk investment. Most of my money needs to be in a place where it can and will grow, but it's not going to lose a lot. So invest responsibly, but start doing that diligently. It will build much faster than you think it can, and it's important because that money is going to become your down payment, your purchase price, whatever you want to do with it, and it's what makes your life a whole lot easier years and years from now. And as you'd imagine, the earlier you start, the better it pays off. The next thing that's very important is that you get a mortgage. If you want to have a six-figure car loan, you'll need to have a mortgage. Very few banks are comfortable loaning people money on cars when they don't own a house. Renting can be a good way to save money in the short term, but owning a house is a great way to build wealth. And you can also use your equity as a line of credit to buy things at a very low interest rate in the future. The next thing relates to that mortgage, but it differs in some ways as well. Verifying your income. You'll need to verify your income to get a mortgage, but you'll also have to do so to get an exotic car loan. And if you get paid under the table or in cash, or if you have a small business that you write off absolutely everything for and show very little income, you're going to struggle to get debt. So what you have to do is find ways through tax returns, pay stubs, things like that, to prove your income because it's going to be critical. As we talked about in the exotic car financing video, the debt to income calculation for an exotic car loan works a little bit differently than it does for a mortgage. In a mortgage, you're going to get 40 to 45% debt to income acceptability based on your monthly gross income to your monthly expenses. For a car loan, your total provable annual income is generally a little more than you're going to be able to get a loan for. If you make 100 grand, you can probably get a loan for 70 to 90 depending on what other factors are in play. The next thing that's very important is that you learn how to appropriately present yourself. As you get ready to buy a car, the way you look, the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you conduct yourself, the car you drive up in, all has to do with the outcome that you achieve. So as you get ready, make sure that you have your driver's license, your insurance, the title to your car, your payoff, everything they're going to ask for, have it ready. That allows you to move very quickly, get a better deal, and build a much better relationship with the person you're buying the car from. The last thing that you need to remember is that you should target the right cars. The Lamborghini that I just bought is a perfect example because the previous owner had bought it about a year and a half prior as his first exotic car. And he wanted to find something that really wasn't going to lose any money, and he did that. But a Lamborghini Murcielago is a very difficult car to drive, and as a first exotic, it can be a handful. The attention is intense, the difficulty in operation is significant, so sometimes it's better to look at things like Audi R8s, Porsche GT cars, V10 Lamborghinis, V8 Ferraris, the cars that you do see more often and might be a little bit more common, but that's why they're good cars. They accumulate miles a little bit more easily, they're easier to drive in traffic and dense urban settings, and they're generally a little bit more reliable and cheaper to maintain when things go wrong. So it's important as you do your research and look for the right car to dream about that you do find the right one. Go to car shows, watch YouTube videos, You should keep that enthusiasm alive. You should enjoy the journey that leads you there. And when you buy one, and I'm sure you will, what you'll realize is the story of how you get there is sometimes more fun than the car you end up in.